Hey, what's going on, everybody? David Noy with Speakeasy HR, presented by Payroll Partners. We are here. It is July. I have so much planned for this month and have some amazing guests to come on and celebrate the 1 year anniversary of Speakeasy HR. Cannot think of a funnier HR comedian, personality to have on as we get into this month. So I have Peter Phelan. Welcome to Speakeasy HR. How are you today, my friend?
I am good and very honored to be part of the first anniversary celebrations. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been great to connect with you over the last few months as we've been planning this out. So appreciate you having time to jump on here and just have a lot of laughs and hopefully my cheeks hurt after we talk. So for those of you that are new to Speakeasy HR, we are live on LinkedIn and YouTube. I am David Noe, the host, producer, editor, all in one. And so it's been a wild ride to get this thing off the ground and started. If you are not going out to Speakeasy HR, we have a weekly blog. This week's transformation is the word of the week. So as we go through July, transformation I thought was a great word. So go to speakeasyhr.com and you can find everything out there. So we'll be live, like I said, on YouTube and LinkedIn. So if you have registered to watch live and you're able to spend a little time with us, put a comment in the chat, tell us where you're watching from and all that. But Peter, how was your holiday? We're just coming off a holiday weekend. How was that for you?
Pretty chill, thank you. Little cookout. Took it
Yeah.
super easy. Did not want to add to the record travel numbers. Airports are not particularly fun these days, so gave them a wide berth.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. I'm in Kentucky. It's really hot and we just went to a couple parades, had some fireworks, nobody got hurt, so
Perfect.
that's about all you can ask for. So so again, for those that are new to Speakeasy HR, it looks like we've got somebody that knows you, Peter. Ashley is here, so welcome, Ashley. So again, this is a podcast I started and thought about maybe a year and a half ago. Wanted to bring on different HR personalities and in business and just challenges that everyone faces in a day-to-day life right now in the world of work. And a lot of what HR has to do is serious. It's a lot of hard work, strategy, but there's also humor into it, and you can apply that. So cannot wait to get into your topic, Peter. And so for those that don't really know you, because you and I got connected through a mutual friend, which a lot of these guests that I've had on, that's how it's been happening, is that I get introduced to people and someone says, hey, you should meet Peter. He would be a great future guest. So we started talking and then I kind of learned a little bit more about what you've done, and you've done some disrupt HR work and just the day-to-day stuff that you do for HR searches. And so can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, people that haven't heard about you before? And I know you do have some folks on here. Mark, welcome. Peter, break a leg. So you've got some fans coming in today, which is great. So if you want
Sure.
to just tell us about yourself and where you grew up and just to learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm an Irishman, although my accent is somewhat diminished at this point after 30 years in the States. One of those weird people who actually studied HR stuff in college, studied management, undergrad, HR masters. So, didn't fall into it. It's my own fault, if you will, for my pains, that I'm a recovering chief people officer now. Fast forward, I did an in-house career for 20, 23 years, had a great time doing it, and then I went out on my own. So now I'm an executive search partner for searches, mostly startups. So often founders will task me with helping find their first head of people or talent or both,
Yeah.
and thoroughly enjoy doing that. And then of course thoroughly enjoy some comedy on the side. Some of those boosters in the messages are collaborators, fellow funny people.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining, Mark and Ash. With Mark, I I've been working on a kind of a long form show, so stay tuned on that. If you happen to
Yes.
be in South Jersey in September, could be something happening there, Atlantic City.
Okay.
And then with Ash, we do every 5 weeks or so in New York City, because he's in the burbs, I'm in Manhattan. We actually do an open mic night, because we'll talk about some of my humor today, but some of the other funny people in HR can steal the show, man. We do these open mic nights. You have to be an HR person to attend or to perform.
Okay.
Comedy is often about HR. Sometimes it's about something very non-HRy, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of talent, David.
Yeah.
HR people, I think, need a sense of humor to survive.
Yes. I do agree. Do agree with that for sure. Absolutely. We've got another person in here that knows you, Shelly. So welcome. Glad to have you in
So,
today. So yeah, it's really funny because I didn't think going into this podcast and where I'm at with it into it being a year that I would have someone like you on the show and being able to just let people laugh a little more. So if you are watching live, hopefully this is breaking up your day a little bit. Would love to have more, HR comedians on this show, but there aren't that many of us out there. But maybe there will be with everything
it's a
you're
growing
doing.
population. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you might be starting a trend with other guests coming on. So
I
see
hope
if
so.
we can get that to happen. So there's a game I started with this just for people to get to know you more without just talking about your past and some of your hobbies and things like that. So I started this envelope game last year and I went through the first year about the same questions, didn't change them. So you're the first one to get brand new questions. There's
Oh,
15.
I
So
studied all the old ones. You're killing me. But go ahead. Test my
we got
improv skills.
we got 15 new questions in here. So this is the envelope icebreaker game for people who have not watched this before. So Peter, think of a number 1 through 15, and in a few seconds I will ask you for that number and we will see what it is in here. Hold on. All right. Do you have a favorite number? 1 through 15?
We're going to go 9.
Niner. You got the niner. Okay. Number 9. I have no idea what this is. I just put him in here about 10 minutes ago. So, all right. What's something small that instantly boosts your mood at work?
Something small that instantly boosts the mood. Well, a thank you never goes astray. If I'd be more on brand if I was to talk about a humorous chain email that's just
Yeah.
building and building upon itself, always staying within good taste, but
Yep.
getting funnier by the second. But I'll keep it simple. I think everyone loves a good thank you.
Yeah. I love it. Thank yous go a long way. If it's verbally in an email, a simple thank you card, or you got to have one of these little.
That's the ultimate thank you right there. Yeah.
You got to get one of those. That was my recent purchase. I blame TikTok Shop for that. So that's where that came from. All right, one more. I got to give you one more.
Okay.
1
So
through 15, not 9.
let's go 5.
Number 5. These are fun. I have no idea what I mean I put them in here 5 minutes ago. I should know what's in here. Okay, what song instantly puts you in a good mood no matter what, Peter?
Let's do Chumbawamba.
Oh yeah? Okay.
Yes,
That's a good one.
the Tub Thumper.
That's a good one too.
Just so much fun, crazy, nutty, but inspirational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. So for this second year of this podcast, I am doing a lightning round. So this is going to be uh-oh. Up here. There we go. All right. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
There we go.
Yep.
All right. My connection was gone for a minute. So these are 5 questions, a little bit more speakeasy-ish. Okay, so you walk into the Speakeasy HR lounge, Peter. What drink are you ordering, and what's playing on the jukebox?
Ah, I think in this particular lounge, I would go for a Big Daddy IPA,
Okay,
California IPA,
okay.
and probably I think the vibe might be a bit Pearl Jammy.
Pearl Jammy. Okay, love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Love the Pearl Jammy. That's awesome. There's not nearly as much great music as there was back in that time. So,
Yeah,
you
I've
know,
got a
that's
Pearl Jam anecdote for later in the session.
yeah. Okay. All right. So when I came to you, Peter, and we were talking about this idea of you coming on, and it didn't take a long time to figure out what you were going to bring to the show. So it really came pretty natural, I think, for what you do. So I can't wait to get into that. I do want to bring up a few messages from our presenting sponsor, Payroll Partners. So grab a drink of water, whatever you got to do, and I will see you in just about 57 seconds, and then we'll dive into your topic. Can't wait to bring this, and we'll go from there. Hold on one second.
Finding a new employee takes time and money. For one position on a single job board, you could easily spend a minimum of $5 to $10 a day advertising a job post. It's worth noting that the average time it takes to hire a new employee is 36 days. However, it can take longer than that. You could find yourself paying hundreds of dollars a month for a single job board. And if you're using multiple job boards for multiple positions, this could add up to thousands of dollars a month. There is a much simpler and more affordable way of finding the right candidate. At Payroll Partners, we offer an applicant tracking system to help manage your hiring process. Our ATS is customizable, allowing you to decide which days you want to run the job and when to close it so you don't break the bank. And this feature lets you e-blast your network, posting jobs on multiple boards at once, all managed in one location. Payroll Partners, elevating your payroll and HR experience.
Sorry, I was on mute. So if you are in the market for a new payroll provider, technology is not working for you, look us up, payrollpartners.net. Would love to connect with you and your decision makers on your technology. All right. So let me just bring up my notes here for Peter. So getting into this line of work, Peter, what drew you to this kind of work that you're doing right now? Obviously, you're involved in a few different roles, but things that you're doing right now and helping find good HR professionals. What's kind of drew you to that kind of work since you
Sure.
started doing that?
Yeah, yeah. So the origin story of the HR executive search practice was unexpected. I was doing my in-house HR thing for, like I said, 20, 23 years. And I had noticed that I preferred hiring for my own team. Maybe it sounds
Yeah,
selfish that I had, ever kind of enjoyed hiring for sales or for engineering or whatever. They just seemed to be kind of more on the same wavelength. And it's like, hey, I could see myself having a long-term friendship with this person, even if I don't hire them,
yeah,
because we have so much in common.
yeah,
So I just enjoyed every interview and really enjoyed picking the creme de la creme for the high-performing, people team, talent team for my employer.
yeah.
So that was kind of in the back of my mind. But when I started going into the world of entrepreneurship as the CEO of Values Culture, and as the name might suggest, it was about values and culture, not executive search. Maybe I should change the name, but anyway, um, I was doing culture definition projects, helping maybe less kind of people-minded engineering founders or whatever come up with their culture code. It wasn't necessarily the thing that came to them naturally. So I'd be the objective third party, come in as the culture doctor, do a bunch of analyses, always very data driven, competency rankings, personality assessments. And we'd come up with these, very data driven true values. And that was a ton of fun for a year and a half. And then the market spoke to me. The first client who was thankful for the kind of greater sense of self the culture analysis offered was asked me, hey, can you help us find a new head of people?
Yeah.
So that was the first of 125 searches for a head of people, and now it's the biggest part of my business. I still do an occasional culture project, love them, but yeah. It's an executive search practice for the most part now, and just came from listening to what the market wanted the most.
Nice. I was listening. I don't know. It disconnected us at some point, so I don't know if it disconnected on your end or not. But
I saw some surprising visuals, but the show must go on. That's what we
things
learn.
were going wacky. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're crashing LinkedIn here with this. That's okay. We'll keep going. So let's start with the basics. How do you define net mirth? Because this is one thing that I was really curious about. So how do you define net mirth, Peter?
Yeah. So I guess the question there, is what's your net mirth, that I like to ask. And it's probably just, are you having fun? So there's a lot of people who are kind of miserable in their jobs, and here in Manhattan especially, I know some very miserable but very wealthy Wall Street people. They're doing really well, making their 7 figures a year, but it could kind of hate their jobs.
Yeah.
So in my view, there's a value in smiling every day at work, which I am thankful I get to do, to where I don't need to earn as much dollars, because I value my net mirth. So I think a job that doesn't give you some joy to where you're laughing or smiling on a daily basis may not be worth it. And you may be frozen again. You're certainly very still, just looking at me drop these truth bombs very attentively. Either that or you're frozen. So I'm going to keep talking just in case we're risking dead air here. So I'll go into the origin story of where the worlds of finance and my version of net worth first met, which was during my in-house days at Bloomberg Financial Markets. People will know Mayor Bloomberg. It's the same company, made him a multi-billionaire. Now screens are changing again. So my role there at Bloomberg was to be an HR guy. So I had this thesis at the same time that even humorless Bloomberg could do with an injection of net mirth. So maybe not just be all about the dollars. So the first, little hint of that, where I introduced it, was in benefits, communications, specifically benefits enrollment meetings. So this was a little bit going off script, but the feedback was great. So I started to do these entertaining benefits enrollment sessions, and word got out and attendance went up. And you might wonder what an entertaining benefits enrollment session looks like or sounds like. So I was just a little bit irreverent in them. So there are certain taboos at Bloomberg at the time. I don't know if this is true, but 20 years ago when I was there, if you ever quit your job at Bloomberg, as I the world, you could never come back. So it was like this, it wasn't exactly like golden handcuffs. It's just like this weird rule where if you ever betrayed us, you'd never be welcome back again. So leaving was taboo at Bloomberg. So I'm doing this one benefits enrollment session specifically on 401k down in the DC office. And this one woman keeps asking questions that were on a very certain theme. So when I talked about the match on the 401k plan, she'd be like, yeah, what happens to the match when you leave? So I'd answer the question and, go on to the next topic. And, maybe it's changing your investment mix, of where the money is invested.
Right.
What happens to your ability to make investment mix changes after you leave? So she kept, broaching this taboo topic at Bloomberg. At least it was taboo of leaving. And then eventually on the third question, I was like, hey, I'd just be happy at this point if you don't quit before the end of this day session, and then the a laughter, a wave, moved across this somber group of Bloomberg journalists when I was imagining her up again, resigning during the 401k education session. So I guess I got hooked, and then I started pitching the idea of humor as a kind of a source of edutainment, where you might remember the content a little bit better.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's when she kept leaving. Oh, the investments. Oh yeah, the match. Oh yeah, she kept leaving. That there was like a connection there. It made it memorable.
Yep.
So I pitched it to Bloomberg TV, but of course, it's very serious. They said no. I pitched it to Bloomberg Markets Magazine. Again, money is very serious. No, but third time was a charm, and I got to do some work on Bloomberg Radio. I was actually on there 180 times, David, doing
Wow.
very silly but kind of memorable edutainment bits. I was
Yep.
basically the Dear Abby, where I would write this letter of dear, bewildered,
Yeah.
bewildered in Brooklyn. I've just arrived on the off the boat from Ireland, and there's something up in the local bank saying tax deductible contributions to the IRA. What is going on? So then, of course, I switched to Peter, and well, it's not the Irish Republican Army. This is actually the individual retirement account. And then it caught on, and 180 segments later, had built up a little bit of a body of work as the finance ear, and it was kind of HR for the most part, because that's what I knew best. So a lot of benefits, a lot of workplace stuff. We didn't stick with just the financial markets. We got creative.
Yeah. We had another network connection issue, so hopefully you just kept talking, because
I did. I just kept going. Yeah, show must go on.
This isn't your first rodeo. So can you share a moment where humor helped diffuse a tense or difficult situation?
Yeah, I think this happens often, and in my experience, a bit of self-deprecation can be particularly useful in a situation like that. So we had a very good culture, a very positive culture at Media Math, where I was for 4 years, and just people loved being there. And I think that was partly because they were surrounded by very smart people who were doing breakthrough work and getting to market maybe ahead of Google. With a product or feature, in our space in ad tech, which always felt good. But people were just genuinely high on the net mirth index as well. They enjoyed being there. There was almost as much excitement in making these smart people laugh as there would be in making these smart people impressed with your great coding or whatever.
Right.
And there was just a regular email trails of funny stuff piling upon each other. It was like a tradition at the company. So there was one occasion where an executive gave me a bit of a good-natured ribbing on an email trail. This was a smaller audience, just the executive team. And the CEO went on to say, hey, be careful, person X, Peter can be very thin-skinned, and he controls payroll. So my response was, of course, yes, I'm totally thin-skinned, and you've already been zeroed out, dude. So too late, kind of thing. So yeah, it the combination of just the CEO chiming in and me taking the bait in a totally non-defensive way and actually piling on to say, yes, I had been insulted, and now this person is not going to get paid, and resulted in a far happier end of that email trail. And then there was another one, which was all company, where in an effort to keep our runway intact, the precious runway in startups, I had gone with a cheapo healthcare processing vendor. The healthcare was still rich, but the claim processing was just awful. It was 2013, and the only way you could get your claim in process wasn't by email or snapping something on your phone. No, you had to fax in your claims. It was ludicrous. So I kind of went in front of the entire company at all hands and said, do not blame the HR team, for this one. This was all my decision. They're guiltless. It was just a bit of a runway, kind of over cautious decision making. But God, faxing in 2013, and then everyone laughed. That it was just this ridiculous thing. So yeah, owning a truth and just pointing to the ridiculousness of it, even if you're the source of the ridiculousness, can even out a tense moment.
Yeah. So you sent me this earlier. Let me see if I can pull it up here. And so there's a line between appropriate humor and going too far. So HR professionals navigating that, you wanted me to pull this up and use this to explain that a little bit. So enlighten us, Peter.
Oh,
What does
well,
this mean?
I'm confused. No, I'm just kidding. I like the beautiful green landscape around it. This like gorgeous jungle or something. But yeah, I think the humor is a balancing act. So you never want to offend anybody. So when I do impersonations, and at the end of my little spiel here, hopefully you'll pick a few people at random for me to channel in real time. But before we get to that, I just think that you should never make fun of anybody, with the possible exception of yourself. And you can make fun of a ridiculous situation, but I think as long as you're steering clear of mockery, and you're off to a great start when it comes to humor. And then while you'll see there's a diversity of folks there on the visual, you'll see that they're all either Caucasian males or fictional cartoon or Star Wars characters.
Yep.
So yeah, just just know your audience. Always read a room. So when you're doing impersonations, these are the folks who I choose to impersonate versus anybody else, where offense might be taken. So that's just a couple of rules of thumb to be wary of.
Okay. So I can pick one of these.
I will try and make an HRE impersonation of any
HRE?
of these fine people. Yes.
Oh, geez. Man, this is so
All right.
hard. I mean, oh, geez. So
Just pick one. It's not that hard.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go Jim
Gaffigan.
Gaffigan.
All right. Well, now Jim Gaffigan, he could wear a number of HR hats. There could be the wellness, so nutrition could come into play. He might tell us, "You're never really glad you had a hot pocket," for example. Or there could be a learning and development angle here, where Jim could tell us, "You're never really glad you had a hot pocket." But again, Caucasian male, so safe bet. Give me another one.
Oh, all right. Austin Powers.
Austin Powers. So let's see. You guys ever seen that Culture Deck by Netflix? It's very groovy. It's all about freedom and responsibility. Yeah, baby, yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right, then just go to the right. Let's do Chewbacca.
Okay, now this is the HR person facing change management. All right.
Okay.
Yes, that primal scream of changing the course of the company.
All right, who else we got here? Stewie.
Well, performance feedback is very important, David. I think you'll agree. Oh, Brian, you really are the worst type of person.
Oh my gosh.
Hit me again.
Oh man. All right, let's see who else. Let's see. Liam Neeson?
Yes, indeed. A fellow Irishman.
Yeah.
Who's the stuff? So the audience, I told you to pick a bunch of different ones, and you chose the opposite of what I told you. So this is just evil on your part, but I think I did okay.
Oh, how about let's have someone watching pick one that I haven't. Let's see if anybody. Mark, Ashley, LinkedIn user. I don't know who that is.
As long as they're on the list, I should be okay. As long as they're on the screen.
Yeah. All right. Has anybody else got one that we haven't said? Let me pull up the other ones on the other side because I don't think you'll be able to see them all. So yeah, we've got Kermit the Frog. What's that one in the middle on the bottom?
Oh, let's do that one. So, this is King Charles, and people might not recall this back in the day, but I was a very big environmentalist for many years, many decades. The trouble is, pictures like this, where all you could see is gold, don't exactly scream low carbon footprint.
Oh yeah, Mark's Prince Charles.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the Terminator. I gotta hear that.
Yeah, well, with an audience of HR people, I think the reality that we're facing is that, look at you all, you're nothing but a group of Terminators. So this unites us, and you've managed to pick none of the voices I asked you to do. So I think we should quit while we're. I don't know, maybe I'll do one other quick thing. So I like the way you go rogue. That's fair. I like the random questions. We're also doing random impersonations.
That's right.
But my lady wife is a wonderful woman, American. I married here. The full American dream came true. Delightful kids as well. We had together. But one of her disabilities, her only one really, is that she's got a touch of the face blindness. Meaning that we'll be looking at a movie and she's like, "Oh, wait a second! I thought he was a good guy. Why is he killing the witness?" And I'm like, well, no, he's another Caucasian male, but he looks a bit like him, But no, it's a different guy, So I was just kind of picturing how she would do in one of the X-Men movies, where you've got Sir Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart doing one of their fabled meetings after, because they've had a bit of a love-hate relationship. But when they get together, you can always count on them saying, "Hello, my old friend. Hello, my old friend. Hello, my old friend." Very bewildering, because as you see in the picture there, those guys even look kind of alike. So you can't use the voice, you can't use the faces. My poor wife. I'm just going to steer clear of the X-Men movies because it's an accident waiting to happen.
Oh, I love it. That's so good. Oh man, that's great. All right. So do you want me to take this off?
I think I'm done with that. Thank you very much for picking none of the voices I actually wanted you to do. It was yeah.
Well, which one did you want? Which one did you want me to do?
We'll move on to the next topic.
Tommy Lee.
Yep.
Okay. All right. See, I wasn't even going off my notes, Peter. I think this was my first one. Okay, so playing a role in onboarding, and really the employee engagement, even compliance training. So enlighten us, and how can humor play a role in all those things?
It's kind of like the edutainment idea, the example from Bloomberg earlier, where you could take some pretty dry material, like the vesting schedule on a 401k plan, but if you manage to inject some humor and some funny, like, wow, I never thought about it that way before, into the conversation, then the education might stick. When I came to the States, first of all, I was, I'd been subjected to a fair amount of American TV, glad of it, in Ireland, growing up in the 80s and early 90s and stuff. But then I was still at a deficit, because versus my American peers who had spent their first 21 years, I arrived at 21, in America, and not just getting some secondhand stuff from TV shows. So I went deep on The Simpsons, David. Amazing show. So many fun takes on society and politics and the history of the States. And that was my edutainment. I watched every single episode through the whole catalog, and just tried to take that same kind of funny little coming at things from a humorous angle into my HR work and my edutainment. And So far so good. Haven't had any major disasters from humor yet by playing it safe. And if I make fun of anyone, it's me.
That's good. So have you ever seen humor backfire in a workplace, and what did you learn from all that?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some risk there. So keeping those rules of thumb in mind, where you really do have to read a room. And sometimes if it's termination day or whatever, we mentioned the Terminators that we all sadly have to wear that hat on occasion. That's not the time for levity. That's when you're playing it straight with compassion. I'm trying to think of scenarios where, because I've thankfully been unscathed myself so far, where others have maybe strayed into the realm of humor having bad outcomes. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess indirectly, I was having a conversation with a bunch of HR buddies about termination meetings gone wrong. And it wasn't necessarily because of them attempting humor, but it was almost a humorous, in retrospect, unwillingness to address the issue at hand. So I had this one new head of a department who was supposed to come in and let go of the old head of the department, who had been for a little while in kind of a lower, kind of a push down to a mid-tier role, but it wasn't working out, and they were going to end things. But the new department head, who had been doing this wonderful pitch about how he was a transformational leader to every audience, every department he could get in front of, he somehow read this room as somewhere where he needed to do that again. So for the first 15 minutes, he was talking to the old head of the department about such an exciting time of change and transformation. We were going to do amazing things as a new function. It was going to be awesome. And then after a 15-minute sales pitch, he's like, sadly, this bright future, you're not going to have a part of it. And the poor guy, is, and that was only after a few kicks under the table from me for the firing manager to get to the point. But yeah, I think we HR people have to see the humor in these painful situations to stay sane, for sure.
Yeah. So what advice would you give someone who doesn't see themselves as funny but wants to bring more levity to their team?
Yeah. Well, the beauty of humor is there's lots of different ways to do it. So I was doing some impersonations earlier, and not everybody can do the larynx gymnastics required for that. But and some people don't like jokes either. So, but there's long form. Mike Birbiglia, I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but he's a hilarious guy. I saw him in New York City last year, and he is just a great storyteller. And but they aren't set up punchlines. It's an hour show, and it's all very, very engaging. But he'll turn stuff like having bladder cancer, or having because he had that, as well as being a chronic sleepwalker, where he's been known to walk out of a plate glass window on an upstairs room, and thankfully live to tell the tale. But it's more long form. I did one of these recently at an event where I shared another somewhat life and death, but nothing like Birbiglia's situation, where I was at one of my in-house jobs and just busy schedule, going from meeting to meeting. And as a meeting, I saw an update on LinkedIn. Last collaborator of mine, an Aussie, but he happened to have a first name Peter and an Irish last name. His wife had updated LinkedIn to say that he'd passed after a brief illness, ahead of his time for sure. So I chimed in my condolences on LinkedIn and then went off to my meeting. unbeknownst to me, as the meeting progressed, where I was not on LinkedIn in another room away from my tech, people had seen this was in 2011. And back then, if you commented on something on LinkedIn, the little head of you, the little headshot, was almost as big as the originator of the conversation. So people put, two and two together and got five, and I was all of a sudden the dead Peter with the Irish last name. So my network was buzzing with condolences, with, oh, he was so young, I just saw him, he's two young children. My kids are 18 and 20 now. They would have been like cute little 3 and 5 year olds then. It's just so sad. And yeah, I was dead. By the time I got back to my desk, there was like a lot of condolences, and my network is actually shrinking. Some people, first thing they did was cancel their connection to Peter Phelan. I guess they don't have I was barely cold in the grave, David, and they were like getting rid of me. And so I had to quickly chime in on the email trail to show proof of life in a way that was like delicate, because this woman's, the widow Donna, had been looking for, I don't know if she's looking for, she was just informing the world of Peter's passing. I did want to steal the show. So I just kind of quietly repeated my condolences about Peter, and then I underscored bold the last name, not me, and then tried to track down the origin of my death. So the first well-connected person on LinkedIn who had concluded that I was dead. So I finally did, and so I had to try to stem the bleeding. And then others who'd been extending condolences to my widow, etc., I sent some direct messages as well. It kind of got under control. But I mentioned this story as a kind of networking lesson, if you will, because I thought that I might have got some networking credits in the bank from the guy who killed me, or so I thought. So I found out who had been the first one to call me dead, and I thought, hey, okay, honest mistake. But years later, I did need his help with a connection to somebody who I needed to, really wanted to connect with on LinkedIn. So I thought, hey, I'll ask my executioner. He's connected with him, and this is going to be great. And he owes me one because he killed me. But my outreach was unsuccessful, David. He was having none of it. He's like, yeah, I don't think so. So the networking lesson du jour is, if I ever kill you on LinkedIn, I owe you a major intro. That's how I'm going to operate. Not in a different way from maybe my friend. So yeah, if you're not feeling that you're jokey or impersonatey or improv-y, you can do longer form stories and maybe have some fun with that on getting your point across. The longest form stories I've done, I did spec scripts. I don't know if you're familiar, readers or listeners or viewers are familiar with the idea of spec scripts, but a spec script is where you write a script in the voice of the characters of a well-known show. So I did a Simpsons, a Will and Grace, and a Scrubs. And to this day, David, they are the 3 of the 5 most award-winning, contest-winning spec scripts of all time.
Wow.
Which can be verified on winningscripts.com. So that's kind of my ultimate long form, and also my ultimate threat. So if the world doesn't allow, HR to make work more funny, maybe we'll make work more HR-y, or we'll make funny more HR-y, because all of these 3 scripts were on work-based themes as well.
Yeah. Had more connection issues, so hopefully you just kept talking.
I did. I kept rolling like a champ.
That's good. So if we had a HumoR in HR starter kit, what would be a few things that would be put into that, you think?
Yep. And so I'd say definitely choose your preferred medium. Again,
Yep.
there's lots of different ways to do this. So go with what feels authentic to you.
Yep.
Maybe it's cartoons, maybe it's not even spoken word or whatever the case may be. And that can be as simple as adding a relevant something from, cartoon stock, whatever,
Yeah.
into maybe an otherwise dreary onboarding deck where you'll, have a funny cat or dog, whatever doing. So, do what feels right to you, and would be thing one. And then thing two, remember, if you're going to make fun of anybody, don't let it be the company. It could be you. It could be a situation. Could be an impossible situation. It doesn't always have to be you that you're mocking.
Yep.
And if you do mock yourself, don't mock yourself within an inch of losing your credibility. Keep it lighthearted. You deserve a break.
Yep.
And then the third thing I'd say, maybe start small. So you might not want to, have it be at all company all hands where you make your first attempt at humor. You could use your trusted coffee buddies or water cooler buddies or Zoom buddies to do a small scale preview and see if they think it'll land well with a broader audience first.
Yeah. So before we came on, I was asking you about your personal brand statement, and you did have one. I created one a couple months ago, which everything I do in my world is HR focus, business focus, people focus, and just trying to make meaningful experiences, whether it's with humor or not. I don't look at myself as someone that's making everyone laugh, but I have fun little gadgets, at work. So, I'll walk around. We had employee of the month, so I walk around and give everybody the announcement that somebody won. And so I try to make that lighthearted and fun. And so for my personal brand statement, it's to really create positive, meaningful experiences that inspire, uplift, and make a lasting impact on individuals. So you had given me yours, which I wanted to bring up as well, if people haven't heard of your personal brand statement. So tell us about, what made you pick this as your statement?
Yeah. So I discovered from working with, clients that this, you know, hiring your first head of people can be nerve wracking. Like the person you'd really love to have at your side when you're making a key hire like this is the first head of people or a head of people and talent, because an organization and their growth trajectory and the existing culture and the existing skill sets of maybe the executive team or other early employees, they're going to be so different in terms of what nuanced puzzle piece your head of people should look like. So my goal is to make it far easier by kind of having that frame of reference of placing 125 plus of them, and also having been one for many years, that I can quickly say, okay, yes, you'd love to have the sun, moon, and stars, but based on where you are today, what's the mission critical stuff for the next 18 months? And they're like, I don't know. And I'll say, okay, what does the company want to do in the next 18 months? And they'll explain their growth plans from a product roadmap perspective, from a revenue growth perspective, target markets, etc. And then I'll be able to translate that into the kind of head of people and that might make sense for them. And then, reading their strengths and weaknesses as a leader, I might be able to add in, okay, and if you're comfortable, tell me, what you think your strengths and weaknesses are. And if they aren't, whatever, then I'll try and just kind of read them as an HR person and say, oh, and we can also add these ingredients to your people and talent job description. And then I see shoulders beginning to relax. And like, oh, wow. So this great head of people can also be a bit like a chief of staff too, because they're business savvy and they'll help with my priorities. Yeah, the shoulders are getting more and more relaxed. And it's just like taking this scary thing and demystifying it, and then having a little bit of fun, hopefully with a little humor along the way.
Yeah. Very good. Well, thanks for sharing that. Most people that are listening hopefully have a brand statement of their own. If not, I would challenge you to try to do that, and just think about what you're doing in your day-to-day lives and try to come up with that, just so other people know more about what your focus is. So, Peter, do you have a favorite comedian that you have met, spent time with over the years? Is there one in particular that is kind of your overall favorite?
So I was lucky enough earlier this year to appear on a stage. It was Gotham Comedy Club, and it was just a stellar lineup. So T.J. Miller, who you may know from the Deadpool movies and Silicon Valley, he opened up. Then I went, and a couple of other comedians, and then it was just like royalty at the end. It was Gaffigan, Seinfeld, Wallace, George Wallace, who clarified for us that he was the original George because he was a roommate of Seinfeld's for many years in New York City. Although I think, Larry David might have a greater claim to the George character, but George Wallace was into it that night. And so that was very special. I got to speak with Gaffigan briefly afterwards. He's amazing. But I think in terms of sheer volume of, funny, memorable stuff, it could actually be Seinfeld. Because I've watched every episode of all 9 seasons, multiple times.
Yeah.
And it's just such good stuff, and it's aging pretty well in 2025.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Seinfeld might be the winner.
Yeah, I've watched Curb Your Enthusiasm and I've watched Seinfeld, and it's just it's you have the other ones that are, the Office and the other ones that were also popular, but yeah, you can't ever make something like that again. I don't think. That was just pure genius in everything that he did, and so I love the fact that people like you are doing this kind of focus in HR and trying to bring humor to it, because I think everybody takes life so serious and they take their work so serious, and it is serious. Like, people are dealing with a lot outside of work. They might have just family issues or personal issues, mental health. There's a lot going on. Like, everyone's got something that you may not know about, and so if you can, help and bring humor and just help somebody laugh and make their day, like you said, a simple thank you. It's not funny, but it's just a simple thank you. And hearing that, it just might really uplift somebody and, really make their day better. So Peter, anything, you said something in September's coming out. I did want to give you some time to share anything else.
Well, thank you.
I know
Yeah,
Values Culture.
Values Culture is the main website for my executive search and culture doctoring business. So would definitely welcome any engagement there. You can also hit me up on LinkedIn. There's a few Peter Phelans, but I'm the one that looks like this and calls himself the culture doctor and an HR comedian. We have that South Jersey SHRM event, Atlantic City, end of September. Mark and I, the first commenters in the trail. And then Ash Bandel is my partner in crime on these events, these open mics for HR people in New York City, and we're expanding to New Jersey. We're spreading in the coming weeks. So keep an eye on funnyhrpeople.com for those details. And maybe I'll break my rule about self-deprecation and deprecate the entire Irish people with my final anecdote. This is from the Pearl Jam reference earlier. Wanted to circle back to that one. So picture it, David, early 90s, still in college, get this great ticket to a music festival, beautiful day for it too. So we're outside waiting for Pearl Jam to come out. They were a little delayed, but temperamental artists were not one to question it. And finally they come out after a 20-minute gap in the schedule, and they proceed to tune their instruments for another 20 minutes. So the crowd is still smiling, though. We're just waiting to hear Jeremy or whatever the anthem might be. And finally, they finish tuning, and Eddie Vedder turns to the crowd and says, "I never knew the true meaning of the word grunge until I saw y'all's teeth." So that's sorry, Irish people. I think we're better now. This was the 90s. We've come a long way with our dental care. But man, it was funny. We actually we can make fun of ourselves. So it did get a good laugh, even if it hurt. So I don't know if you lost me there again, David. There was that freezing thing happened, but I continued with my Pearl Jam anecdote, and we're back.
Good. Good. I can't wait to listen to this again because I feel like I missed half the episode.
All good.
It's all good. So yeah, values culture, and obviously reaching out to you on LinkedIn if people want to follow your work. But sorry for all the network connection issues. That obviously throws a little wrinkle into the episode. But normally I have a pretty good connection. So not sure if we just crashed it today and it's not wanting to work after a holiday weekend, but it's the way it goes. But
Sorry, man. We did ask a lot of it, but I think for the
Hey.
most part, it stepped up.
Yeah.
Just a few moments of tiredness.
Yeah, well, good. Well, Peter, I really appreciate your time. It was great to connect with you finally live, and I hope everybody that does watch or have watched this can bring a little bit of humor to their day and try to make them laugh a little bit. So, Peter, hopefully we'll keep in touch. Best of luck
I hope
to
so.
you.
I don't know.
Enjoy your summer with your kids, and hopefully we'll see each other sometime in the near future. But again, appreciate your time, and check out the next episodes coming up. We have a lot of fun coming up in July. Hopefully better connections than we had today. But Peter, thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Thank you. This is great. Had a lot of fun, and good luck with the rest of the anniversary celebrations.
Yeah, thank you very much. And one more for Peter. There you go.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, everybody.